Good afternoon. It's Tracy B from the Divorce Solutionist. Oh, excuse me, it's hot. I was running. That's why I'm a little late. Um, 5 minutes late to be exact. But I made it. I'm here because that's how important you are to me. But anyway, this is Thick of It Thursday, where I go over real life scenario, fact pattern, hypothetical. I don't know if it's considered hypothetical if it's real life, because I take the topics from social media, from other forums, from um, different places. Consultations that I get. If it's if it involves a topic that's commonly asked about or discussed, or a topic that's kind of complicated or convoluted, I usually choose it to go, to address it or discuss it in depth on one of my weekly lives, Think of It Thursday. So I'm here every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, usually at 4 p.m. Today, today was start time was 4:15 because my son is in camp and I had to go pick him up first. And but I ran into traffic coming back home, so that's why I'm late. But anyway, normally it's 4 o'clock every Thursday afternoon here on my Facebook business page, on my YouTube channel, and in my group, the Divorce Glow Up on Facebook. So anyway, um, I wanted to talk about something that came up last week, I think it was. Um, and it also ties into what I do, the services that I offer now as a divorce, custody, family court coach, consultant, strategist. Most of you know my background is in family law. I was a family law practitioner for more than a decade and a mediator as well. But now I focus on just doing coaching, strategy work, and consulting. And so that'll tie in to a little bit. What I'm going to talk about ties in to a little bit of what I do. Sorry, tongue tied. Trying to bring my my heart rate down because I was rushing. But anyway, so last week in one of the groups that I'm in, I won't say where, but it's a lawyers group. A lawyer asked a question. She posed a question to other lawyers, and I want to find exactly the question because it was interesting. Um, and it was interesting enough that I not only posted it in my groups, but I wanted to talk about it and other things surrounding it right now. And of course, I can't find it. And I found it earlier. So, anyway, the question was the lawyer came in and asked other lawyers, how do they deal with clients who need more than their legal help? So, in other words, we all know family law is very, very, very mentally and emotionally demanding and draining. But some lawyers are better that here it is. Some lawyers are better than others at helping clients navigate the emotional and the mental part of uh, any kind of family court matter. I don't care what it is: custody, child support, um, abuse, neglect petitions. They're all the divorce. It's all very, very emotionally draining, and mentally, and can be physically, and definitely financially. So this is the question. She said, can some of you share some tips on dealing with clients' anxiety without getting overwhelmed? She says, I'm a bit impatient with it, but I don't know how to productively handle it where I don't become a therapist. Now, the reason why this caught my attention, as I explained, is because, when I was in private practice, I signed up. I was well aware of the fact that I would have to serve in a therapist capacity to some degree. No, I'm not licensed or accredited to do any sort of therapy, but I knew that part of what my role was as a family law attorney was to be there to support my clients emotionally and mentally, to the degree that I could anyway. And what that meant was sometimes when they just wanted to call me and vent about some things, I would let them, or if they were, needed a little bit more hand holding, I would do that. Or if they were, if whatever it was, the thing is, it's a fine line because, I'm human, we're all human. And so we have limits as well. And if we're not trained to deal with people's emotions, when we're not trained to deal with people's emotions, it can really drain our energy to the point where it affects us in other ways. And I'm more conscious of that now than I was when I was in practice, because now I'm way more spiritual. So I am aware of when my energy is starting to be depleted by people and their issues and their dilemmas and all that stuff. And so now I take more of an effort to cleanse myself and to re-energize and regroup and refocus and all those things. So, but a lot of lawyers are trained to think. You know, a lot of us are very cerebral, and so a lot of us are very narrow-minded, not in a bad way, but we're very monolithic in our thinking, especially when we're, representing a client or we have an issue that we are focusing on. That's what we tend to put all of our attention and energy on. And right, wrong, and indifferent, that's how it is. However, when I believe anyway, when you choose or when you land in the family law arena as a lawyer, you should learn or incorporate or acquire or master some skills at helping your clients deal with their anxiety and their emotional issues and stuff like that. At the same token, of course, you should recommend that they go to a therapist, because nothing is going to take the place of therapy in some of the, especially in the most extreme situations or circumstances. But at the same time, we should be, because even in family court, we see the range of emotions. There's not one time I've gone to family court and I didn't see the range of emotions that the litigants, even sometimes the lawyers and the judges and everybody else who are players in a particular case, go through a range of emotions, you know? And so even, because of that, we have to learn how to master our own emotions and how to learn how to focus our attention amidst all of the chaos sometimes that's going on in family court. Family court is in a class all by itself. Nothing else compares to that. And I tell people that, especially in the legal arena, there's nothing else compares to that. But it's not for the faint at heart. I tell people that all the time. It's not for the faint. It just so happens my background was mental health before I became a lawyer. So for me, it became natural for me to go into that. I mean, I've done some other things before I actually went into family law. I did some other areas of specialty, but I landed in family law and I loved it because I loved it. The fact that it allowed me to use my people skills, my undergraduate degree in training, and a whole lot of other things, my altruistic goals, a whole lot of other things that allowed me to fulfill all of that at the same time. But what it did not allow me to do was to focus on it more than the law, which is why I shifted and do what I do now. Because as a lawyer, you are bound by some ethical rules where you must maintain certain boundaries and handle things a certain way, and interact with clients a certain way. Every state has ethical rules about how lawyers are to interact with their clients, how to represent their case, how to advocate for them, et cetera, et cetera. And so because of that, even in family law, in the venue where I hate to say it, where the law really doesn't matter as much as in other venues, other court venues. Even there, there's still ethical rules, ethical obligations that lawyers and anybody in the legal field must adhere to. So So for her to ask this question, it's not a new question. It's come up several times amongst, seasoned lawyers, new lawyers. It's always going to be an issue for a lot of family law attorneys. So, um, but I brought it up today because I wanted to stress to people every time I get the opportunity to talk to someone, excuse me, about their case. I explain to them, especially when they bring up how disappointing their lawyer is, how unsatisfied they are with their services, how they lack communication, how they are, money hungry, and how they, blah, the list goes on. I hear it every single day in when I'm doing my work or when I'm interacting with the audience, the family law audience, every single day. I mean, I've screenshot so many of the complaints about people have with their lawyers, especially in family law, because there's such a range of emotions and the expectations are usually way out there. And they expect, a lot of times people expect their lawyers to get them out of something that they didn't ask to be brought into sometimes. And it's very different from criminal law, because I've done that too. In criminal law, it's usually, once it's over, it's over. It's cut and dry. With family law, the issues just constantly, come up, and new issues, and it's never ending. It's always never ending. So because of that, a lot of times clients have expectations, and rightly so, of their lawyers that are not met. The flip side of that is that, like I said, lawyers, family law attorneys especially, should understand that because of the volatility, the sensitivity of the issues that they're representing their clients on, that they should take more of an effort to explain things to them, to make it clear to them, to foster a relationship that's workable for both ends. Um, and this is what I'm saying is not new. I'm not being innovative by saying what I'm saying, but it's not stressed enough, you know. And again, I'm not faulting lawyers for that, because I know, I've been there. I know what it's like to be the marketing person, the practitioner, the office person, the paralegal, the bookkeeper and accountant, and all, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Especially when you're in private practice, you wear so many hats. So sometimes it's not possible to, hold hands, for instance, when you're trying to make sure you're meeting deadlines, and blah blah blah. So I get it, but every single day I hear a story or two or 10 or 20 about a client who has been completely disappointed by their lawyer. Um, and it's not just for them lacking the ability to be there and support them emotionally, or or mentally, but like I said a few minutes ago, it ranges. The complaint, the list of complaints is endless. So I do think more of, again, more family law attorneys should make the effort to ensure that the client, listen, when I was in private practice, I tried because, one, again, because of my background and because of who I am. But the other thing that was important for me is I wanted referrals. I wanted my clients to refer me to other people, and I wanted to say positive things about me and to mean it, you know. And I had a conscience. If I didn't give a case my all when I went to bed at night, I would lie awake. It would bother my conscience. You know, again, that's another reason why I don't do it anymore, because those sleepless nights, they weren't a lot, but when I had them, it was a snowball effect. It would roll over into a whole lot of other issues, and it was very stressful, very very stressful. So anyway, so let me just read to you one of the responses. One of the other lawyers said to her. She said, it's tough. It really depends on the client and how they show their anxiety. She said, I try to keep them a step ahead by keeping them prepared for the next step, and what the worst case scenario might be. If they start venting too much on the phone, I interrupt them and remind them that I'm just a lawyer and I don't want to open up a whole can of worms. I'm not trained to help them in that process. She said, a lot of times it's just about repeating the same thing over and over and over again. And yeah, and yes, I've gotten that too a lot. Um, Here's another response from another lawyer. She says, I listen, I charge them, and after a month of billing them for those sessions where they would, where I had to just listen to them vent, whatever, they stopped. They stopped calling me so much to vent, because when they looked at the bill and they see that I was charging them 250, 350 an hour for just for them to vent, something they should be doing with a friend or a therapist, they stopped doing it. And I remember those days too. I remember that. I remember too when times when I would let them vent to me, and I would remind them, hey, listen, you keep calling me and talking about this stuff, unfortunately I have to bill you for this. And sometimes I didn't. A lot of times I didn't bill them for it, because it depends on who it was. It depends on how they approached me. It depends on our relationship, our rapport. It depends. I know I'm owed about $100,000 out there, and out there in the universe, from all the free stuff that I've done. But you know what? I was fulfilled, because I felt like I was doing something that mattered. I felt like people would, they would remember that, and they would talk about, in their storm, in the worst storm in their life, they had somebody like me to help them, feel reassured that it was going to be okay. And that's my job. That's exactly what I'm put on this planet for. That's exactly what I'm here for, to make somebody find some sort of hope, restore their faith, or just to give them some sort of direction sometimes, to make them feel good in the midst of a really, really bad storm. And as a strategist, consultant, and coach, I'm so much more able to do that, because now I can focus on showing you how to master your emotions. I can focus on showing you how to mentally focus. I can show you how to deal with your anxiety. I can show you tips and tricks on how to navigate the court process, understand the language, how to read body language. I mean, I get specific about a lot of things, and I love it. I love it, because as a lawyer, I couldn't do that. I had to focus on the law and representing and or defending the case and preparing for trials and hearings and blah blah blah. I couldn't focus on the practical stuff. Not as far as my clients is concerned. I couldn't. Now I can. And I wanted to take this time to talk about exactly that, because one of the things that, if I didn't respond to that post, but one of the things I thought about was to tell, the lawyers that sometimes, um, some clients do have a therapist, and they still want a different perspective. They don't want a therapist's perspective on whatever it is they're dealing with that day. Sometimes they want some hybrid, or someone like a girlfriend, and they don't have that, or they do, and the girlfriend just doesn't want to hear them because they've been talking about it so much, or the girlfriend is married, so she doesn't want to jinx herself or her own marriage, whatever, you know. So, and that's where I come in at. That's exactly where I come in at. I bridge the gap. I fill that missing piece, the missing link between a therapist, the lawyer, and your best friend. I am, I am the those gaps. You notice how I made I did the three dots. Well, I this is what I do. I connect those dots. My services connect those dots in some way, shape, form, or fashion. That's exactly what I do. Okay. I talk to people, when they need an ear. I send them text messages of practical tips about, remembering all the points before a hearing or mediation. I have video chats with them so that we could look at each other and sort of, you know, uh, I could, ease their worries and anxieties and their fears by us having a face to face via video chat. Um, I show them how to read language in the document that the lawyer may not have had the time to do, or explain it to them, but they use so much legalese that it went over their heads. I I helped them prepare for one client. I literally helped her. She went into a trial pro se, and she had me on her phone, and we were actually communicating in real time while she was in the courtroom. And I don't know how they didn't take her phone. I think she was in Illinois or Indiana. I don't know how they didn't take her phone, but they didn't. And so she was able to communicate with me while she was actually before the judge. And when she was done, she had to call me and tell me how I helped her calm down so much, how I eased her anxiety so much that she was actually able to focus on the pointers that we discussed the day before. That's the kind of stuff I do. Sometimes, depending on who your lawyer is, I will even email, call, or contact your lawyer and explain something to your lawyer from your perspective in a way that the lawyer can understand from my perspective, since we have the same background. What I do in my capacity is endless. My overall goal in all the services I provide is to help you package and present your case or defend your case in a way that's much more beneficial to you getting the outcome that you want. And that's why I focus on the strategy part of what I do, because that's what it is. Everything I do is centered around strategy. Strategies here, everything I do is centered around that. It's an extension of that. So when in my consulting, in my coaching, even in my unbundled services, it's about strategy. Everything is about strategy, because family court is not a court that focuses primarily on the law. It's not. I don't care who you are, and you try to debate me about that. I will debate you till the end. There's no way. There's no way. I've seen, heard, been in the midst of it enough times to know that the law is not a priority in family court. It's not. It's a chess game. Family court is a chess game. And if you don't know how to play chess, if you don't at least learn the concept, the pieces, the players, the moves, you will be decimated in family court. I don't care what lawyer you have. I don't care if you spent $50,000 on your lawyer and he's the best in your area. I don't care, because that $50,000 didn't buy you how he knows the law so well. It probably bought you the fact that he knows the judge so well. Okay, yes, I said it. Okay, so you could, and I hear people tell me all the time, well, I got the best lawyer. Yeah, I've seen the best lawyers get their butt whipped. Take them out of the jurisdiction they're most familiar with and see how well they do. Try that. Take them out of the jurisdiction that they do every single case in. Take them into a neighboring jurisdiction where they know no one, and see how much your expensive top of the line lawyer does. Okay, so me, yes, I take into account who the lawyer is, who the judge is, what your issues are, even who your ex or your soon-to-be ex is. I take into account all of that, because it all matters. It's not just the law you need to know. You need to read body language. You need to focus in on what matters to the judge more than others. You need to listen to the guardian ad litem. You need to read them. You need to understand what matters to them. You need to see what role each one plays in the dynamics. You need to know that. You need to know that. If you want to win, you need to win, because there's no such thing as winning in family court. Win. If you want to prevail, if you want to get exactly what you're trying to get, you need to know that. You need to know these things. And so lawyers, having the best lawyer is okay. You might, increase your chances. There's no guarantee, though. There's no guarantee. I guarantee you that if you work with me in doing, any one of those services that I mentioned, even if you don't prevail in the objective that you set out for yourself, you would feel 110% better when it's all over than if you had not worked with me. Why? Because I'm going to teach you some coping skills. And what I actually help you with is for long-term success. It's for success in every other aspect of your life once your case is over. Because if you have children and you're in family court right now, until your kids are 18 or sometimes even 21, you subject yourself to the possibility of going to family court until they reach that age. And so the skills I teach you help you in that realm, in that sense. And I'm still learning, I'm still developing, I'm still, evolving as a strategist, consultant, and coach. But every single day, I am working at improving my skills so that you can improve yours. And so, yes, I don't fault the family law attorneys who try to do what they can and, who try to adhere to the law and try to follow the law. But it's your responsibility to fill in the gap, to do what you can on your own. It's your obligation to yourself to do what you can on your own to ensure that you get. Listen, the attorneys go home at the end of the day. Their day ends and they're not worrying about you and your kids and unfortunately, they're not. But your day doesn't end like that, right? Your day just doesn't end like that. Your day and your life will go on, and your kids being in the middle of it, your ex or soon to be ex giving you problems, their spouse giving you problems, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's important that you know exactly what you need to do to to you may not be able to avoid future disagreements, conflicts, or whatever, but you have the skills now to be better equipped, better able to deal with those, right? So let me just give you a few tips that you can use when you are dealing with a lawyer. And if you choose to be represented by a lawyer, and there's some cases that you absolutely need to have a lawyer. And some of those are parental alienation cases, relocation cases, adoptions, when you want termination of rights, those kind of things I tell people you have to have an attorney for that. You cannot do that on your own. Some custody cases are not necessarily, yes, they don't necessarily require an attorney's representation. Sometimes you do better on your own because sometimes attorneys being involved, they, what's the word? They create more of a conflict. Sometimes they do it intentionally. Sometimes they don't. They don't do it intentionally. Sometimes they do it because they want to follow the law to the T, to a letter. And family law is not, you can't follow every law to the letter because there's other things involved. And sometimes it snowballs because you're following things. And sometimes you just don't know. Sometimes you can. And the outcome winds up being totally opposite, honestly. So sometimes it's, depending on your case, you do better on your own. You do better on your own. I know it's intimidating if you're pro se or unrepresented, but the other side is not. That's different. That's a little bit more of a challenge, but it's not impossible either. So let me just give you some tips. Number one, I'm going to give you 5 tips real quick. Number one, if you are going to deal with a lawyer, always, always talk to at least 3. Lawyers give free consultations all the time. Okay. I don't mean go onto the internet and go into Avvo and all that stuff. I mean, have a real conversation with 3 lawyers. Hopefully they can call you into their office so that you can read body language too, because body language is key. I'm telling you guys, body language is key. Okay. So try to have at least, if not, then try to do over the phone, but you need to have a live conversation with at least 3 different family law attorneys, okay, in your jurisdiction, not outside of your jurisdiction, because the jurisdictions change, the rules change, procedural rules change, everything changes. 3 lawyers within your jurisdiction, okay? Number 1. Number 2, like I said, try to get it in person, because when you're in their office, you not only get to see, body language with them, you get to see how they move around. If you're in their office and the phone rings and they're talking to a client on the phone, if they answer it, you get to see how they communicate with their clients. You get to see who's in the office, who helps them. You get to see, and I get an idea of what's a priority to them by looking at what they have on the walls, what they have on the desk, right? I say this all the time. These are things that a lot of people they take for granted, they overlook. Number 3, anytime you get a retainer, please, 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 please have them go over it with you. You owe it to yourself. I can't tell you how many times I'm asking people, okay, they come into a forum and they ask a question about what the lawyer did or didn't do. And the first thing I say was, well, what does your retainer agreement say? And they say, well, what is that? And I say, it's the contract you signed with your lawyer when you gave them the deposit. Oh, I don't think I got one of those. Or the other answer that I get a lot is, oh, I didn't read that. So you signed something and you didn't read it. So now you have questions about billing, invoice, communication, all of those things. And now you're coming to a bunch of strangers expecting them to give you an answer when the best person to give you that answer is the person on the other end of that contract. If they give you, they should give you a retainer agreement. I think the American Bar Association's Code of Ethics, I think it suggests or recommends a retainer and a client's duties and responsibilities, especially in these kind of cases. So you should get at least a retainer. I always gave my clients a list of clients' duties and responsibilities. Communication was essential for me. I need you to know what I expect from you, just like you need to know what you expect from me. So read the retainer agreement. If you don't understand something, have them explain it to you. Especially, let me tell you the section, communication, because that's the number one complaint. Oh, my lawyer does not answer my phone. He doesn't email me back. He doesn't fill me in. Communication. Court appearances. Who's going to court? Will it be the attorney you hired? Will it be somebody else? You know. And 3, the billing, the invoicing. How are you being billed? Are you being billed in 15-minute increments? Are you being billed for emails? Are you being billed for, you need to know those 3 things. Most retainer agreements have way more than that, but those are the 3 most important sections that you need to have an understanding about. So if you don't want to go through the whole retainer with your lawyer, go through at least those 3 sections and anything else that you might find on there that you need clarity on. But don't let them rush you. Don't let them rush you. If the time you're paying them, they're in a rush. Let me tell you something about lawyers. While you're handing them a check or a money order or a debit card or whatever, that's the best time to ask all the questions you want. And you make that a condition, or you're like holding back, giving them that money until they answer the questions. Trust me, you have their undivided attention. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. 4, you want to know how they communicate. You want to see how they communicate. You want an understanding of how they communicate. That's important. That's important. Some lawyers will communicate via text, some limit it to emails, some will do just phone calls. You want to know. You want to know. You want to know that ahead of time. You need to know that, whether it's in the retainer agreement or not. You need to know that. You need to know how much time will pass between the time you call or email them or text them and they respond. Ask them. They know. I knew. I would tell my clients, let me tell you, I'm going to tell you right now, if you text me on a Sunday night, I'm not going to answer you until probably Monday afternoon. And they were okay with that because I explained to them ahead of time so they knew what to expect. And the last thing is, make it clear to them what your expectations are. Okay. And constantly remind them of that as time goes on. I have a lot of tips and pointers, but I'm going to end it at that because I have to go, unfortunately. Make it clear to them what your expectations are and remind them of that periodically. And do it, not just verbally, do it in writing, do it by email so that you have that. So that you have that. Okay. That's what I have for today. I was compelled to discuss this. I might do a second part next week because I think this topic is very important. It's very, very important. And I do it repeatedly. I do it, every so often. I either blog about it or I talk about it in my Facebook groups or on my business page, or like this, I do a live video about it. But I think it's important. I think it's important to understand what it is and how you could make the most and the best out of working with your attorneys. Okay. So anyway, that's it for now. I have to go, unfortunately. I will be back next Thursday at the same, well, next Thursday, yeah. No, next Thursday will be the regular time, 4:00, because my son doesn't have camp next week. So I'll be here at the same time unless something happens, and I hope not. But anyway, you can find me at my Facebook business page, the Divorce Solutionist. That's also my Instagram handle. That's also my LinkedIn handle. My website is thedivorcesolutionist.com. My YouTube channel is The Divorce Solutionist. My groups are The Divorce Glow Up and Pro Se Divorce and Custody. Those are both on Facebook. I'm still working on so many other things while I try to do so many other things. But you can always reach me there. You can take advantage of my free consultation. Go on to any one of those sites I just mentioned, and you'll find a calendar to schedule a free 15-minute consultation where I go over how my services can help you. Okay, when you sign up for the meeting, you fill out a form so that I can get an idea of what you're going to talk about, what your concerns or issues are, so that way I can make the most of the 15 minutes. Unfortunately, it's limited to 15 minutes because after that, there's a fee. I can do it longer, but there's a fee after that. But so anyway, thank you for tuning in. I look forward to meeting and working with each and every one of you at some point. Until next week, bye.